Welcome to Good Revenue. I'm Neetha Bidway. Today we're going to talk about rising economic pressures, privacy standards, agentic AI, AGI, and finally, antitrust. As always, you can find links to all of the data and resources that we share. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We would really appreciate your support. Thank you for joining us. Economic pressure continues to rise. Last week, Nike announced that it was expecting almost $1 billion in costs associated from the tariffs implemented by the US this year. Additional tariffs are expected here in the US as the administration feels that trading partners and allies are not negotiating quickly enough. And so it's very likely that there will be additional tariff tax hikes and costs incurred due to these rising tariffs. We've talked about this in a couple prior episodes, but we're already at levels of tariffs not seen since 1936. And so increasing tariffs any more than this is likely to be a huge burden on the economy and on consumers and taxpayers. The other serious issue on the horizon has to do with healthcare. This week, it looks like Congress is about to make huge cuts to Medicaid. It's a federal program that is responsible for $1 of every $5 of healthcare spending. So taking that out of the economy is very likely going to have some huge unintended consequences. In addition, it's important to keep in mind that in the United States, we spend 17.6% of our GDP on healthcare. It is a huge, huge part of our economy. And unlike other countries in the OECD or other wealthy nations in general, we spend almost twice what they do. So any sort of significant cut like this is probably going to be a very, very difficult shock for the economy to absorb. Privacy enforcement tightens. Germany just ordered Apple and Google to remove DeepSeek, that is the Chinese AI tech that we've talked about earlier on this show and you're very likely familiar with. It's been ordered removed from app stores run by both of the tech giants. And that is because DeepSeek has been routing German data allegedly through China in violation of German and EU privacy laws, including GDPR. Another interesting story coming out of Denmark. Denmark is proposing a new law that would let people control their image, voice, and likeness. So if you found a deep fake of yourself or some other image that you didn't authorize, particularly if you're a normal citizen, I think the rules are a little different if you're a politician or a celebrity under this law, platforms would be required to remove those deep fakes or they would face steep fines. That is reported by The Guardian. AI agents have been all the rage the last 2 years, and it looks like some of the hype is fading. Gartner just reported that 40% of AI agent projects are expected to be cut by 2027. This is because of rising costs, low efficacy. Gartner also says that vendors appear to be relabeling old automation projects as AI, and that is very likely causing some consternation on the part of customers who are spending a lot of money and time on these pilots and projects. You may remember this from our conversation last week, but we reported on a new set of findings from Salesforce's AI research team. And if you're interested in this topic, I'd recommend taking a look. One of the findings that was really shocking to me was the level of confidential data that isn't being safeguarded by the agents that Salesforce was working on. So there are definitely some issues, it seems, that tech companies are very likely working quickly to try to address. GPT-5 has been delayed to mid-2025 or later. You might remember that this model was supposed to be available in late 2024, and then it was delayed to early 2025. In February, we got a 4.5 model, but no version 5 as of yet. Down the road at Meta, their Llama 4 update called Behemoth is also delayed, as is the R2 model coming out of DeepSeek. And it looks like across the board, there are technical constraints and resource constraints that appear to be throttling the timeline for all of these new models. Tech giants are also fighting for leverage, even if that tech doesn't exist yet. OpenAI and Microsoft are locked in a big battle over their contract. When they signed their deal several years ago, it included a clause that said that if OpenAI achieved AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, the contract would be off. And so it's a big deal to both Microsoft and OpenAI. Microsoft would lose out on billions of dollars of tech if OpenAI does achieve AGI. And it looks like the two sides are fighting super aggressively over this. You might remember that we talked about the progress of AGI back in an episode in March, and we will link to it here. But there is a really interesting survey of all the top AI experts, and effectively the dramatic conclusion shared by most of the experts is that the current trajectory of generative AI is not going to lead to artificial general intelligence. So I am sure Microsoft is well aware of that, and no doubt this will be a lively negotiation as they battle things out. The Microsoft negotiation over OpenAI isn't just about tech and strategy and markets. It's also a wider conversation about antitrust. Over the last several years, tech giants have been under a lot of pressure from federal regulators here in the United States, as well as Europe and in other countries too. And as a result, they have been exploring new strategies for strategic investments. From what we can tell, here were some of the findings. In 2024, NVIDIA appears to have invested in 49 AI startups, according to TechCrunch. Google and Facebook have also made significant investments. Facebook is trying to stand up a new robotics unit, and they've invested in at least 3 AI companies. You may also have read the news that they've been aggressively trying to poach AI experts from competitors with huge salary and compensation. Google has invested in at least 5 AI and robotics startups, as well as a $400 million investment in Apptronic. In addition, Microsoft has invested in 3 startups beyond its partnership with OpenAI, and Broadcom has also made a series of strategic investments, according to US News. As you can see, there are a lot of economic pressures. We've been talking about this for the last several episodes, and it looks like the ante keeps getting ratcheted up. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you here soon. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, leave us a review, subscribe to the show, or check out another episode. We appreciate your support.